Welcome to All You Need to Know, the show where you hear about everything and learn about nothing. Here are your hosts, Quinn Eaton and DJ Pig.
Welcome to All You Need to Know. My name is Quinn Eaton.
I am DJ Pig.
And the audio probably sounds a little different. People are tuning in, listening to the podcast, and they're saying, whoa, what's going on? What's different? Well, we decided that this podcast that we would be doing today would help with some visual aids. So we are actually doing it via Zoom. And if you want to kind of follow along a little bit better with some visuals, we're going to post this podcast on YouTube. So you need to go to our YouTube channel. You just type in AYN2K on YouTube, and you'll be able to find our channel. And that's going to help. But we're always going to be available via podcast. Isn't that right, DJ?
For sure.
Because we've done that for the entire time, right? We started the podcast. We didn't start a YouTube channel. We started a podcast. And as we've continued to go along, we're like, okay, maybe we should add this to it. You know what? Let's add a website. How about we do a YouTube channel? And so that's what we're doing. And so people are going to be able to watch us if they want to, which probably won't be that entertaining, but we're giving them the option. And then also, they'll still always be able to listen to us via, Apple Podcasts or SoundCloud or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm not entirely sure where everyone listens, but I'm assuming it's one of those two. But DJ, we have an exciting topic. It won the poll this week. I said on the poll, or we said on the poll, let's get existential. We put out 3 very existential questions, sort of. And of course, the audience voted for the least serious topic, right? And so we are talking about today's topic, which is going to be exciting. But DJ, why don't you go ahead and tell the people how this podcast works? Because they might be confused. This different format might throw them off. Go ahead and tell them how this podcast works.
Well, it works a lot like if you're a guardian of a child and you tell them to go clean their room.
Okay.
95% of that.
Hold on. I feel like we've done this one before, but go ahead. It's okay.
What?
I don't know. Go ahead. It's fine.
All right. 95% of it is you telling that child to go clean their room.
Okay.
Because that takes the longest to actually get them to do it. And then the last 5%, the audience actually cleans their room.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That's fine. That makes sense. So
you know how kids are.
Yeah. Oh, I really don't. I don't have one. Of course, neither of us do. But that's a phrase that I think people use a lot, right? Whether you have kids or not. No, you know how kids are.
Right.
Maybe it's because we were kids not too long ago. That's how we know.
Yeah, we are no longer children.
But we are getting older. So it's just kind of, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But let's go ahead and start to dive in to what we're going to get to today. Now, I really am excited to talk about this. And like we said, it's going to be on YouTube, so it might be better to watch it there because we're going to provide some visual aid. But for the podcast listeners, we are still going to try to describe whomever we're talking about, to where you can kind of get a picture in your own head and say, oh, okay, I know who they're talking about. So we'll try to help everybody out with that. But DJ, how would you watch this episode? Would you watch it? Or how would you consume this episode? Would you watch it on YouTube or would you listen to it?
I would probably listen to it and watch it at the same time.
Link up the two, maybe.
Exactly. Most definitely.
But it's not like the audio isn't going to be on the YouTube channels or on the YouTube video. So
I want the best of both worlds.
Okay. Well, you know what? Whatever you would want to do, DJ, I think that's great because you're saying, hey, I think you should listen to both of them, and then that'll bump our numbers up. I see what you're doing there, so I appreciate that.
There you go.
But I guess we should go ahead and jump into today's topic, unless you have something that.
I do have something. I've got something that I want to read. I've been really excited this week to get going.
Is it your book? Is it the?
No, it's
script?
not my book. No,
okay.
no. But I think. Yeah, I may have something next week for you guys for the book. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Let's go. You okay?
Yeah, I had a little.
I saw that. Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for. You've been searching in the dark, and your sweat has soaked through the floor. And buried deep in your bones, there's an ache that you cannot ignore. We're taking your breath and stealing your mind, and all that was real is left behind. Don't fight it. It's coming for you, running at you. It's only this very moment, and we don't care what comes after. It's your fever dream. Can't you see it's getting closer? Just surrender because we know you feel the feeling taking over. It's fire. It's freedom. It's flooding wide open. It's a preacher in the pulpit, and you'll find devotion. There's something breaking at the brick of every wall. It's holding everything you know. So tell me, do you want to go where it's covered in all colored lights, where the runaways are running the nights, where impossible comes true? It's taking over you. Oh, this is the greatest show.
Okay. That was
I wrote that.
I don't think you did. I
What do you
wish
mean?
I wish at one point you would write something, put effort into it, because you're capable of reading something like that. If people, I don't know. I don't know if people will recognize that or not. I did, of course, because I saw The Greatest Showman. But yeah,
What is that?
it's what you just read. There's a song called "The Greatest Show" from the movie The Greatest Showman.
That's as good as a
I just
pump up
pulled it
gets.
up. I just pulled it up, ladies and gents. This is the moment you've waited for. It goes, whoa, whoa. Been searching in the dark, your sweat soaking through the floor, and then it will go. Whoa.
I wrote this long ago. I
You
just thought it
didn't.
would be good
You
for this
definitely
week.
didn't. And let's go ahead and jump into today's episode. We are talking about the top 10 most historic foreheads in history. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the show that you probably haven't been waiting for. We're going to talk about the top 10 most historic / biggest foreheads in history, okay? So we've got a lot to get to today, and I hope you guys are ready for it. I hope you guys are locked in and ready to listen to us talk about foreheads for about 30 minutes. I can't think of a better use of time than listening to two guys via Zoom talk about some big old foreheads, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and get into it, okay? Let's give the people a little something to chew on, right? Before we jump into our list. And we've got some honorable mentions, too. It's often called a five head, right? If you have a forehead that's so big, it would be a five head.
Right.
So my question is, DJ, do you think I have a five head? Because I always figured that you measured with your fingers. And so if it starts right here above I think I've got four. And I don't know. Have you ever heard that? That's why it's called a forehead?
I've heard that's why it's called a five head. I think you're looking at about 4 1/4.
4 1/4. I'm a 4 1/4 head. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, people that are listening via podcast, we were just putting our fingers on our foreheads to see how large they were. And you're welcome to do that as well as you're listening, as long as you're in a safe spot, as long as you're not driving a motor vehicle or a motorcycle, something like that. Probably should
10 and 2, baby. 10 and 2.
10 and 2. That's exactly right. But that's the thing is, I've heard it as, maybe we should have talked about five heads, but that wouldn't be the same thing, right? Because that's kind of like a joke that surrounds the idea of a big forehead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if there's an existence of five heads, then that implies the existence of a three head, right? So it's possible for someone to have a very small forehead.
Right. Which really, at that point, I think you notice less about the forehead and more about how high the eyes up are on the face.
So the positioning of the eyes is important as to how you decide or determine who has a big forehead, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's another question that I have. Can you have a big forehead if you are bald?
I think you can. I wouldn't suggest it.
Well, I'm not saying like someone chooses it. I'm saying if someone were bald, does that make them have a bigger forehead?
I think it makes it look like you have a bigger forehead, yeah.
But does that really count, right? Because technically it just like it keeps going. Your forehead just never stops. If you're saying, oh, I'm bald. And usually the forehead.
You still have a forehead.
I know, but don't you think.
It's just harder to tell where it ends.
Where it stops, yes. But that's what I'm saying is I was just confused as to if someone can have a big forehead and be bald.
I mean, what about Bruce Willis?
Bruce Willis, I would say, has a regular sized forehead and he's bald.
Right.
Okay. And I was thinking Bill Burr, he's bald and he's got
Bill Burr's got a forehead. He's got probably a 4.5 head.
I'm not entirely sure how big his forehead is. You know what? I could pull it up if I wanted to, but I'm not going to because we're not talking about those. Both of those guys. If someone is taking notes and they were like, "Oh, they said people with big foreheads," no. That's not part of our list. That's not even part of our honorable mentions. We're going to get to those in
Right.
just a second.
Right. I was going to say, though, that Bill Burr looks like a cartoon villain from Looney Tunes. Or
He
maybe
does.
Space Jam.
Well, you were over one time. This is going to be a very specific reference, and you know what? I'll go ahead and pull up a little visual aid here because it's just necessary. I know that I said I wasn't going to, but let me go ahead and pull up a visual aid that will help. For those who are listening on the podcast, it's going to be a little tough, but I'm going to pull something up. So, DJ, if you wanted to fill some time, that'd be great.
You want me to fill some time?
Yeah, just say something.
That's usually your thing.
I know. But I was just asking, like, hey, can you please fill some time while I pull up this visual aid that helps with my looks like?
Okay. All right. Well, this break in action is brought to you by the bagless trash can. It still holds stuff. You just got to dump it out.
All right. The bagless trash can. Thank you very much. So now I can go ahead and share the screen. So we're talking about Bill Burr. This is Bill Burr, if people did not know who Bill Burr was.
That's a sizable forehead.
Yeah, but like here's a picture of him when he still had hair. Yeah, you know what? He's got a big forehead. So
yeah, a lot of it, and we'll talk about that more later, but a lot of it goes into the hairline.
It does. And so what I was going to say, you said Bill Burr looks like a Looney Tunes villain,
He does.
Which Bill Burr's a comedian. I don't know if everyone's familiar with him. I once told you whenever you were over at my place, I said, Bill Burr looks like the professional baseball player Freddie Freeman if a genie granted him 3 wishes. Don't they look kind of alike?
A little bit, yeah. They got some similar facial features.
Look at that. I mean, they're very similar. I would go ahead and say that, but let me go ahead.
One is obviously better looking, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying is that Bill Burr, maybe I wish for great athleticism. I wish for good looks. I wish to have my hair back. Boom, he's Freddie Freeman, right? Can you argue with that?
Yeah,
no, you can't. So what did you just say before we started talking about that? You said we're going to get to that in a second. What was that that thought?
I was talking about the hairline. I was saying that the hairline really shows you the forehead,
and that's for men and women too. I mean, this
most
isn't a
definitely.
list that's just on one gender. We're going to cover a lot. So you're exactly
equality,
right.
baby.
The hairline definitely matters. Now, do bigger foreheads mean you have bigger brains? Is that something that you've heard before?
Maybe just the bigger frontal cortex.
That's true. I think that's a scientific
down that
fact.
ginger ale, aren't you?
I love a good ginger ale. All right.
I hate that so much.
Well, for anyone that's listening, I call ginger ale gingy ale, and
it's
I like
awful.
That. I really do.
Well, why?
I really like this. It's just kind of fun to say.
Okay.
I don't know why you have to put me down
to me,
all the time.
You're hitting 2 vowels back to back, and I think it throws it off. I don't like it.
And something else that would upset you is if I wrote down gingy ale on a piece of paper, I would not.
You wouldn't spell it like I would think, would you?
I wouldn't spell it Gingy. I would spell it Gingie. Gingy. I like that. I like that version better.
Yeah,
let's get back.
That makes it worse.
Listen, we're not talking about gingy or ginger ale, okay? We're talking
Right.
about the top 10 biggest foreheads in history. Now,
Mm-hmm.
last question before we start to get into our honorable mentions. Do foreheads make you more or less attractive? A big forehead.
I don't think that in every case it makes you less attractive, but however, I don't think that it makes you more attractive.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So you just kind of just not giving an opinion whatsoever, staying right in the middle, so you don't get pinned down on either side, right?
So yeah, I guess
what you do.
Long story short, or short answer to that question would be no. I don't think that it does either way.
Okay. And I'll go ahead and say this. This will probably answer my question. Whenever I was first, and this was way back in the day, Quinn, okay? But whenever I was first looking for a companion of the opposite gender, there were 3 things I was looking for. Great personality, funny, and a big old forehead, right? So,
really?
Hey, I'm just saying. I have a type,
Okay.
I guess. I don't know. But,
You.
I mean, what's going on? Are you Are you
have
confused?
a
Yeah, I like a big old forehead. What's wrong with that? I don't see why that cracked you up so much. But with that, let's go ahead and get into our honorable mentions because it seems like a good place to kind of jump over. So we have a list of the top 10 biggest foreheads, okay? And we're going to get to that, and we're going to go in order. But first, we're going to talk about the honorable mentions. Some people, some men and women with very large foreheads, but they did not meet the criteria to get them into the top 10, okay? And so DJ is going to try to gather himself as I start to pull up the screen here. So for people listening, again, on the podcast, you won't see anything. But if you're watching on YouTube, this is going to be, I think, pretty interesting. So number one on our honorable mentions is Dwight D. Eisenhower. Look at that man. He has got he's got a big forehead. Of course, he's a former president of the United States. And another example of where the hairline that is no longer there did not help his case. But it did look like I don't know if I'll be able to find a young picture of Dwight D. Eisenhower.
I admire the fact that he was still trying to comb it over.
Isn't that whenever
I think at that point you just let it go.
you got to call it home. That's what I've heard it referred to as calling it home, just shaving your head.
Yeah, like curling or shuffleboard. Like you hold on to it as long as you need to, but at some point you got to let it go.
You got to let it go. Exactly right. You got to leave it up to fate. So Dwight D. Eisenhower, he had a big old forehead, and you can see that. He kind of looked like a turtle too. Let's go on to the next honorable mention, Jim Parsons. So Jim Parsons, if you're not familiar with the actor, or I guess, could you call him a comedian? Probably not. He was on The Big Bang Theory, and he had a big forehead. So how would you describe his forehead?
Has a big forehead. He's still alive.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He has a very large forehead. How would you describe his forehead to someone that's listening in just the audio format, DJ?
Well, there's a lot of space between his hairline and eyebrows, but I think that the looks on the forehead on his face have a lot to do with the fact that it kind of seems like his eyes sit low on his face, which gives the perception of a larger forehead.
That's exactly right. So we talked about that earlier, and that's another important callback. There was a literal formula that DJ and I went through, and we went through 200, 300 people, a list of 200, 300 people. And
Yes.
We were like, okay, do they have this? Do they have that? And then we were like, no, they don't. So that's how we came down with our list. And the honorable mentions were very close to making our top 10, but they just didn't quite make it. The next person on our honorable mentions list is Condoleezza Rice.
Wonderful woman.
She is just, whenever you think American, I think one of the first people that you think of is Condoleezza Rice, right?
Yeah.
And she sounds like this is probably insensitive. She sounds like a side dish, right?
Yeah, because her last name is Rice. Yeah.
I don't think that's insensitive. I think that's just a well-placed joke.
Right.
We could probably get canceled for that, though.
You could make that argument for a lot of jokes, though.
That's true. What do you think about Condoleezza Rice? You were saying.
I was saying that I think that her name sounds like Condoleezza sounds like a 1990s to early 2000s hip hop group name or rapper name.
That's true. If it were, what would be their number one hit? Would you say their one hit wonder?
You want the title of the? Yeah,
that'd be a good one, right?
Secretary of State is the title of the song.
Yes. So I
don't know. You put me on the spot with that one.
Okay,
That was pretty
that's
detailed.
a tough question. Let's move on to the next honorable mention, right? Okay.
Awfully specific.
Christopher Meloni.
Whoa.
Now, this is the guy, if you're not familiar, he was on Law & Order. What was that?
Is that a kilt?
Oh, wow. So that's not an inappropriate picture, but he's ripped in that picture. Wow.
Yes, he is. Is he Irish?
I don't know.
He looks Irish.
He might be. I don't know. You're asking a lot of questions and not giving me any time to answer them. But Christopher Meloni was on Law & Order SVU. That's where people will know him for the most part. He was also on Wet Hot American Summer. He's in a lot of other movies. But if you don't know him and you're listening via podcast, you might want to just type his name in, and you'll be like, oh, I know that guy. But he's got a forehead, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Looks like he could land a helicopter on that thing, maybe.
Yeah.
Like a landing.
Hell of a goatee, though.
Where are you seeing the goatee? Over here? Should I pull up this picture? I just did.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, careful.
Yeah, he's ripped though, apparently, or used to be at one point.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next honorable mention, Danny Glover.
Oh,
So,
Angels in the outfield.
yes, an absolute legend as an actor. Goodness gracious, he's got a big forehead, and I feel like. Do you think people that are listening are going to be like, "Man, how many times are they going to say big forehead?" But
Well,
that's what it is. That's what we're talking about. I don't know how else to describe it.
hey, and just for the people listening, one of the pictures that have popped up, it's a Google search of just Danny Glover, and you click on images, and it's the first list of pictures that come up. And one of them is, are Donald Glover and Danny Glover related? And the answer to that is no. And that blows me away because Donald Glover definitely looks like he could be Danny's son.
Exactly, and they're not
because Donald
related.
Glover's got a little bit of a forehead too.
He does, yeah, and he's not on our honorable mentions list, but he does have a large forehead, and that's another podcast that we could talk about. Could Danny Glover actually be Donald Glover's dad?
Right.
And I know that they've confirmed that no
Right.
relation whatsoever. But
I'm going to need to see a paternity test.
Exactly right. Let's dive in at some point. Next on our honorable mentions, Sleepy Joe Biden. He's got a big forehead.
Yes, he does.
Not a very flattering picture there. That's okay though. This one makes him look confused.
Well,
he looks like that a lot.
Several of them are, yeah.
He's not a bad-looking guy, though, right? I mean,
not for 78. What is he, 76, 78?
I think he's 77.
77? Okay. I mean, I was roundabout. You could have just said yeah. But
I thought, whatever. Go ahead.
I think that the forehead looks bigger in this one because his eyes are so small.
So Joe Biden's eyes, we actually did write this down. His eyes, the size of his eyes, and the placement of his eyes make his forehead very big.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the type of guy that it's tough to tell if he is balding or if it's still there. I mean, it's definitely not a lush head of hair, but
yeah, it's thin. It's thinning out.
But he's still got a head of hair.
There.
So yeah, he's still got a head of hair. So good for him. Next on the honorable mentions, we've just got one more after this one, Michelle Obama. Now,
yep.
The thing that helps women with big foreheads is the option of bangs, right? Now,
yeah,
a guy can have bangs, but bangs are out of style at the moment for men. But women, they're always coming in and out, and so I'm just saying, Michelle Obama. I don't know if there's a picture where she maybe utilized that tactic, but no. Well, okay, here's one.
Yeah, there it is.
So there's some bangs, and then all of a sudden, hey, where'd her forehead go? Yeah, and that's one way to deal with it. Not saying that Michelle Obama has an outrageously large forehead, but it's noticeable, right?
Right. Hey, and from that picture right there, I don't know why you go away from the bangs.
You like the bangs, but that doesn't look bad either, right there.
I think the bangs are better than that one. I mean, that one looks like it stretches the head up.
That's exactly right.
So, and for the people listening, this is bad podcasting. If you're listening to the podcast, not watching the video.
Just stop. No, don't stop listening to it. But you might want to listen to the podcast and then go back and watch the YouTube video. Now, the last one on our honorable mentions, I don't know how he didn't make the top 10. Maybe it's because he's a fictional character, but the villain from the Green Lantern movie,
Hector.
And you won't know this. People that are listening won't know what this guy looks like. So if you're watching, you're
Green
like,
Lantern
oh, goodness
didn't
gracious.
do very well.
I thought it was fine. I had no problem with it.
I thought it was a halfway decent movie. I mean, probably mediocre at best, but it wasn't terrible.
Ryan Reynolds had to carry it, of course, but he does that with every movie he's in, it seems like.
There's an honorable mention on our forehead list right there.
Ryan Reynolds does have a very large forehead. So those are our honorable mentions for big old foreheads. So let's go ahead and stop the screen sharing because coming up next, we're going to get to our top 10 list, which I'm so excited. And I think people are they are chomping at the bit to get a hold of this list, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So, DJ, do you feel like we left anybody out of the honorable mentions? Or do you think we're ready to go ahead and move on to our top 10?
I think we hit the list. I think we got to hit the list.
So these are the biggest foreheads in history, right? So we went through the annals of history, right? And we picked out the biggest foreheads. And that's pretty obvious, right? I feel like we're just kind of being repetitive. It's kind of hard not to be, okay? But let's go ahead. We're going to go from 10 down to 1. And, of course, 1 being DJ.
The biggest forehead.
The biggest forehead. Yeah, that was pretty easy to follow.
I didn't I didn't follow. I didn't know what you were asking.
Well,
there for a second, I thought you wanted me to give number 1 away, and I wasn't going to do it.
no. Well,
I was not going to do it.
All right. You know what? Fine. Let's just move on to the list, right? Because we should already be talking about it. And remember, these are from any. They don't have to be just celebrities. They could be any person in history. Okay. So we'll go ahead and open.
I would
that.
say all of these people are celebrities, though.
In a way, yes. So number 10, Benjamin Franklin. He's on the $100 bill, and goodness gracious, he could probably fit $200 or $300 bills on his forehead.
He's got Adam Sandler must be in his family line.
You think Benjamin Franklin looks like Adam Sandler?
I think that the shape of the head is very, very similar.
Maybe so. I can see it now. Again, this is bad podcasting, but this picture doesn't look bad. He's like, okay, he's a pretty decent looking guy.
Yeah, it's a painting.
Well, I'm sorry. It's a picture on the internet that I'm referring to. Okay. It's a painting. You're right. Okay. But he pulls off the look where he's got a receding hairline, but he's just got a long flowing head of hair. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a bad looking guy.
No, he's not a terrible looking guy. I mean, the aging didn't do him great, but the receding hairline, he's got the long hair, like you said, with the receding hairline, kind of like Doc in Back to the Future kind of look. But that receding hairline really looks like it's pulling the forehead back, which is making it look bigger.
It looks like the hair is like holding on for dear life to the forehead, and then of course stretching it back even farther.
Yes.
And what I was going to say that this was bad podcasting. Look at this picture of him. It's not flattering whatsoever. Can you see that?
No, that's I think what you're looking at is the third and fourth chin there.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Less of a forehead in that one, though.
Yeah, that's true. That did do him some justice there. But that was number 10 on our list. Let's move on to I made us disappear. Let's go on to number 9. DJ, you can go ahead and announce it.
Number 9, we got Neil Patrick Harris.
So Neil Patrick Harris was a star on How I Met Your Mother. Of course, he was a child star whenever he played. Well, what I was trying to reference you so you could tell the people.
I don't know what he played.
Doogie Howser. He was like a kid doctor. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So thank you. Just absolute nonsense addition to the conversation. Just repeating one of the words I said there. That was your contribution. So that's fine. But Neil Patrick Harris has got a big forehead. And he looks like he's got a small face too. And he has a small face.
Apparently he is not flattering to look at with a mustache.
Oh goodness. Yeah. I saw that picture down here. Bad podcasting, but Neil Patrick Harris should not have a mustache. Let's stick with the clean shaven Neil
Failed
Patrick
experiment.
Harris.
What are you going to do? The spiky hair really pulls that forehead up.
And he still is a pretty attractive guy, right? I mean,
he's not bad looking.
We can say that. And did you watch How I Met Your Mother?
I have not. No.
Okay. Well, he was a perfect cast for his role in How I Met Your Mother. I would recommend it to anybody that is kind of looking for a show, maybe.
Neil Patrick Harris to join the Matrix 4, huh?
Okay, let's not read the headlines. Let's go on to number 8 on our list of big foreheads. Angelina Jolie. She's got a forehead.
See, she is the kind of person that, yes, she does have a big forehead, but you asked me earlier, does a big forehead make you less attractive or more attractive? And she's one of the cases. It's like, well, the forehead's not helping her be more attractive, but she is a beautiful woman.
Okay, so you're not deducting any points, but it plays
into the
okay. Yeah. And I think that she has done very well in her actress career, and I don't think the forehead's held her back any. And I don't know if she's ever. It looks like she's always got the hair kind of pulled back. I don't know if I've ever seen Angelina Jolie with bangs.
I can't imagine that there was anybody who was in charge of casting for any movie where Angelina Jolie came in and she read for the part, and they were like, "Man, she was great, but did you see that forehead?" Like, that's never happened.
Her forehead was a little too big, don't you think? No, I don't think that's
never happened.
So Angelina Jolie comes in at number 8. Number 7, DJ. Who is number 7 on our list of historic foreheads?
Oh, the least important, Eli Manning.
Eli Manning. So he won 2 Super Bowls, and he's also got a big old forehead. All right, so look, I'm trying to. Ooh, that's not a good picture of him, but he does have a big forehead, doesn't he?
He's got a big old forehead, and
A big
I tell you
nose.
what, while he was playing in action on field, he did not help himself out because he had an extra protective helmet that made him look like he had one hell of a cranium boulder on his head.
Yeah, and well, he kind of does. Here's a
He
better
got a big
picture of
old
him,
head.
but he's not a bad looking guy.
No,
So
I'd shake
is
his hand.
there some sort of correlation between having a big forehead and being attractive? I mean, I feel like the people that we've talked about, I mean,
They're all celebrities.
I
I mean,
wouldn't.
celebrities are never going to look bad.
I went back to Benjamin Franklin. I mean, I don't think he's like a, whoa, hey, here comes Benjamin Franklin or anything.
I
But
feel like Benjamin Franklin is kind of built like Humpty Dumpty.
you're probably right. You're probably right. Let's move on to our next person on the list, DJ. Let's see. So we did 10, 9, 8, 7. This is number 6, Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yeah, the Delano throws me off in that every time.
Do you think it's supposed to be Delano, like with an R on it?
Yeah, because his wife's name was Eleanor, right?
Eleanor Roosevelt. Yes, that's exactly right. FDR, big old forehead.
Excuse me.
I actually dressed up as Franklin Delano Roosevelt in elementary school. Whenever there was a day where you had to, I don't know, like dress up as a historical figure and give like a little bit of a biography on them.
Really?
And so all kinds of kids were dressed up, and I dressed up as FDR. And my
Really?
mom, God bless her, she's always trying to do her best, and she went out and she was like, "Hey, I want to make sure you look like FDR." She goes out and gets some like hairspray stuff to turn my hair gray, right? So I would look more like FDR. Long story short, I showed up to school with some very tiny glasses, and I had sparkly gray hair as FDR.
Really?
So I was like maybe FDR at a rave, I think would probably be the proper way to say it. But
right.
he's got a
Drag
big
Queen
forehead.
FDR.
Yeah, and let's be careful because he is a national treasure. But FDR has a big forehead, and you can't argue with that. Let's move on.
He also always seemed to look tired.
Okay.
Which I don't think helped. Maybe his forehead was always kind of tired and hanging down.
He was the president, and then of course he was sick. I don't want to. Let's not talk about that. But
Hey,
let's move on. What's number 5, DJ?
Number 5 is Rihanna.
Rihanna. Okay, so she has been a pop sensation for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like one of her album covers. I never really listened to her music, and then I just saw the picture. I was like, man, she's kind of got a big forehead. That was like my first thought about her, right?
Really? That was the first. Well, hey, if that's what you were looking for,
right? Because I said I had a type.
You.
Yeah, I had a type. I better be careful.
That's not the first thing I noticed.
I better be careful scrolling through the pictures.
Yeah, I would probably not scroll too much.
But Rihanna, a very talented musician. What's your favorite Rihanna song?
My favorite Rihanna song?
Yeah, there's a ton of good ones.
Oh man, yeah, that's hard. That's hard for me to choose from.
No, I didn't know if that was a song by her or not. That's hard. Let me see here. You weren't referring to a song that Rihanna wrote called "That's Hard," right?
No,
Okay.
I was not.
I just pulled up the list of Rihanna songs for people that are listening on the podcast. "Bitch Better Have My Money" is a really good one.
God, that's a great song.
"Rude Boy" is a classic.
I love "Take a Bow."
Yes, "We Found Love." Man, "Work." Man, that's a great song. And think of the creative ability that she had to have to write that song.
Work.
Work. Work.
Right.
How do you come up with that? I'm baffled. I don't know. Okay, Rihanna was number 5? So let's move on to number 4. Beavis from Beavis and Butthead. Now, someone might say, "Hey, he's a fictional character. So what? He's got a big forehead. He counts." Okay, he's got a humongous forehead, right? Now,
Yes,
do you think Butthead has a big forehead?
Yeah, but his hairline is down there, so you don't notice it as much.
His hairline's lower, and he might be even utilizing a form of bangs that's keeping people from noticing.
And one thing that we've got to consider with the fictional characters too, like this is a cartoon character where we talked about in the honorable mentions earlier that Hector had a giant forehead from the Green Lantern.
Yes.
But with this looks like they could have been drawn by a 4-year-old. So,
That's
I mean,
true.
what are you going to do?
That's true. Okay. That was number 4. Let's move on to number 3. I'm excited. Are you ready? Are you ready? Number 3. Tom Hanks. I love Tom Hanks. Hanks, and he's got a big forehead. You can't argue with it. Look at that sucker.
Tom
Golly.
Hanks is America's dad.
Or America's uncle, I think we said at one point.
America's uncle?
He's a good looking guy, and I like him with facial hair. I like him without. I like him with glasses. I like him without glasses. He can pull off any look.
Off.
He can pull off any role. He can pull off any accent. He can pull off any role you give him. So give him all the roles.
Yep.
And that's spelled ROLES. Okay, you can give him ROLLS.
Yeah, he can. He can.
All those things too.
Hey, if he wants all the roles, give him all the roles.
I agree. God, I love Tom Hanks. We've already talked about him once on the podcast. Like we dedicated an episode to him, but let's do it again. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Number 2, Tyra Banks.
Tyra Banks scares me a little bit, but a good-looking gal.
Okay, so why does she scare you? Her eyes?
Her eyes are like she could be Medusa.
Okay.
In the modern age, without her powers.
Yeah, I think that you're right. Tyra Banks, I think she's hosted a TV show, like a daytime TV show. She's always been. She was in what was that movie? Life Size?
I don't know.
Okay, you don't know. Okay, but Tyra Banks.
She's usually on screen or in a magazine half dressed is how she's okay. That's what she's best known for.
Let's give her some credit because she's also an entrepreneur. Okay. So I just want to defend Tyra Banks there because I think she is close to a national treasure. Okay. I'll go ahead and say it.
Really?
Let's go ahead and jump to number 1. Okay. Because I don't want to argue with you. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Number 1, people are probably guessing, right? People are like, this.
You gotta know. You've got to know.
Peyton Manning, okay? The other Manning. So 2 of the top 10 foreheads in history are the Manning brothers. Peyton Manning
and you know what?
Manning.
We were being generous by only making it 2 of the 10.
Oh, yeah. We could have included the whole Manning family.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to kind of rapid fire through some pictures of Peyton Manning for the people that are watching on YouTube. If you're listening to it through the podcast, you probably know who Peyton Manning is, but gosh dang, he's got a big forehead. Like, how did his helmet not cover his eyes whenever he put it on?
Here's what blows me away is it looks like every picture that's taken of him has been edited and photoshopped. And
it also, I go ahead and argue that it looks like his forehead has gotten bigger as time has gone on. Which I guess makes a little bit of sense.
Hey, that's what they say, that your nose, your ears, and your forehead never stop growing.
That's right. So that was our list of the top 10 foreheads in history, okay? So it was a very exciting list, and we talked a little bit, or actually a lot about foreheads. We definitely covered about 95% of the topic. So that's it, right?
Is it?
I don't know. I think so. Curtis?
Okay.
Yeah, Curtis
doesn't know.
No, he doesn't. You're exactly right. And I think we had made it through the entire podcast without a curse word up until that point. We were so close, but that's all right. I'll go ahead.
It wouldn't be the greatest show if we went the whole time without one.
So, but again, we can't just use someone else's writing, in our podcast. And
this is the greatest show. I don't care what Hugh Jackman says.
Okay. All right. Well, I agree with you. And that's going to do it for this episode of All You Need to Know. For people that are listening on the podcast, maybe it's a week where you're like, God, that wasn't the greatest. Sorry, we went all in on the.
It's every week. Some people have bad weeks. What are you gonna do?
Exactly, and we went all in on the visual part this week, so we apologize. But you'll probably be able to enjoy it in both mediums. So that's gonna do it for this episode of All You Need to Know. My name is Quinn Eaton.
I am DJ Pig,
and that's all you need to know.
This has been All You Need to Know. If you have a topic you would like to hear about, message us on Twitter or Facebook, or send us an email at allyouneedtoknow00@gmail.com. Rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, and tune in every Wednesday because here at AYN2K, we've got you covered.
We were both just sitting there. You were just looking at me. All right. Okay, here we go.